The Pope is out of D.C. and wheels down in the Big Apple. Next on Fox News First, we'll see how New Yorkers are pulling out all the stops for his big visit.
And if you're looking to be sheriff in Brown County, the line starts behind 3 men already wanting that job. We'll make the introductions next on Fox News First for your Thursday evening.
Why was that?
Live from the heart of the big country, this is Fox News First at 6:30.
And cue them.
In a word, security is tight around St. Patrick's Cathedral for tonight's papal visit in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Bob Ricky.
And I'm Molly Garrity. Pope Francis will be at that cathedral for an evening prayer service tonight. His visit to the city also includes stops at Central Park and Ground Zero, as well as Mass at Madison Square Garden tomorrow. Many in New York say they hope to catch even a small glimpse of the Pope.
On 6.
Well, the reason that I'm here is because I wanted to see the Pope. I do not have any reservations or any tickets, but since today is my birthday, I would like to see him at least from far away. I don't mind. That would be my biggest present for today.
Leaves New York City Saturday, and he heads straight to Philadelphia.
Maybe she'll get some binoculars.
Hopefully.
And see him there. A potential breakthrough in deteriorating ties between the U.S. and Russia last week. Washington and Moscow's top defense officials spoke over the phone for the first time in more than a year.
Now an even higher level face-to-face meeting is taking place. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork has more from the White House.
President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet face-to-face for the first time in nearly a year. The two leaders will speak next week on the sidelines at the UN General Assembly in New York. President Putin requesting that meeting.
The top item on his agenda will be Ukraine.
So is it live or
President Obama will once again use this occasion to reinforce to President Putin the importance of Russia keeping the commitments that they've made in the context of the Minsk.
If it's not live, we're not using the super.
Ties between the U.S. and Russia soured by Moscow's annexation of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula last March. Russia insists it's not supporting the rebels fighting for control of eastern Ukraine, but the U.S. and other nations say there's plenty of evidence to suggest otherwise.
One-shot on Molly
Russia with sanctions for its involvement in the conflict.
A meeting like this does have the potential for giving the United States greater insight into exactly what Russia's intentions are.
Our Kremlin spokesperson says Syria will top the agenda, however, and the two leaders will discuss Ukraine, quote, if time allows. Russia, a longtime supporter of embattled President Bashar al-Assad, and is building up a military presence near Latakia. Former General David Petraeus stressing the danger of ongoing instability in the country at a Senate hearing earlier this week.
Syria today, Mr. Chairman, is a geopolitical Chernobyl, spewing instability and extremism over the region and the rest of the world.
Presidents Obama and Putin last saw each other last November at a conference in Beijing. Since then, not a whole lot of contact. In fact, just a couple of phone calls. At the White House, Kevin Cork, Fox News.
More than 700 people have died in the stampede in Saudi Arabia. It happened on the third day of the Hajj pilgrimage in the city of Mina. Nearly 1,000 people were hurt in the aftermath of that rush. 2 million people are reportedly taking part in the Hajj this year, which is just 3 miles from the holy city Mecca. And today's incident is now considered the deadliest disaster in the region since 2006, when some 360 people died in a similar stampede. A deadly collision today between a charter bus and a duck boat in Seattle. At least 4 people are dead and 9 others critically injured. Various agencies responded to the crash in Seattle, closing down all lanes of a bridge on a highway. Police believe the duck boat crashed into the side of the bus, and part of the bus even caved in and shattered the windows. It's unknown exactly how many people were on each of those vehicles during the crash.
Mac Breed, the now former assistant coach accused of encouraging players to target a referee, will be prohibited from coaching at a UIL school until he meets with the state's executive committee. Breed resigned Wednesday night, nearly 3 weeks after he was accused of directing a couple of players to attack an umpire. In a statement today, Breed recanted his prior statement, admitting he told some of his players to go after the ref, and he's still sticking with the story. The ref used racial slurs. Breed could be suspended for a maximum of 3 years.
Well, as we head closer to Friday, of course, all eyes are on football evening to see how the weather's going to be and what's going to go on.
Not to be nitpicky, but there were a couple of weather delays. And you know how I hate to complain about the weather, Barry.
Yes, the background. Bob. And for Tomorrow evening, we're going to see just a couple showers out there possibly. I don't think there's going to be any delays. Tomorrow evening is pretty much just going to replicate what this evening is. And
One sugar
isolated
Molly
shower
is
activity
next.
will continue into the early overnight hours and possibly into the overnight hours as well. Milder temperatures because of the extra cloud cover that we're getting. That will last into the weekend. Also with slight rain chances as well. I'll show you those temperatures in a bit. Now back to Bob.
Molly advance.
All right, Garrett. Unfortunately, some folks in North Abilene today had to skip the shower because of a water outage. Officials say the problem area was on the north side of town off Judge Ely Boulevard. Water crews have been working yesterday and today to replace some pipe work underground to get water back in the faucets all day. We're told that water is now up and running again, and residents can contact the city if their problems continue.
Bob advance.
Oh, mosquitoes collected in South Abilene test positive for the West Nile virus, and today the city took some action. Crews sprayed for infected mosquitoes in a variety of areas around town, including along South Fenway Boulevard and South 14th. The people on the business end of that spray remind us there are ways to protect you and your family from those little bloodsuckers.
We get a plan together, we start spraying, we try to educate the citizens about the 4 Ds,
We're gonna
draining water, dressing appropriately, putting on some kind of personal protectant, and trying to avoid dusk and dawn.
Animal Services will continue spraying on Friday. Parks and Wildlife reports some captive deer in Texas were found to have chronic wasting disease. Now they're encouraging hunters this coming season to submit deer samples to monitor any possible spread of the disease this fall. There's no cost to the hunter. You'll just need to submit a sample from the animal's head that's been harvested in the last 24 hours. Game biologists are quick to point out, to date, CWD has not been found in Texas' free-ranging white-tailed deer. It's been a couple of weeks now since the Brown County Sheriff Bobby Grubb's death. The Commissioner's Court could appoint a replacement as soon as their next meeting to fill the sheriff's position until the next election.
And already there are 3 men wanting to wear that badge. Jerry Puerta met up with 2 of the candidates today in Brown County.
The shock of Sheriff Bobby Grubbs' passing was felt throughout Brown County. The Sheriff's Department managed to fill the void with teamwork.
We just kind of passed the responsibilities down to the next person. It took us a couple of weeks to get our feet back up under us after the initial shock of Sheriff Grubbs' death.
In Brown County, Jerry Huerta, Fox News.
Earlier this month, Captain Vance Hill announced he wanted to replace Sheriff Grubbs. They worked together for 5 years. He says he'll run the department similar to his predecessor.
Some of them make a few changes in some categories.
No,
for the
but when
most
he
part,
hates, remember?
Sheriff Grubbs did have some great policies and procedures in place.
Born and raised in Brown County, Hill says he hopes voters want a native to be their next sheriff. Another candidate has worked at Howard Payne University for 5 years. He announced his candidacy on September 11th.
After listening to the people of Brown County for quite some time, for about the past year, I've heard their concerns, and it's clear that they want our local law enforcement to go in a different direction.
Police Chief Paul Lilly says he wants to bring down the crime rate. Lilly says he'd like to see deputies work more of a regular beat so people in the county can become familiar with them.
I don't need the office space. I certainly don't need the title, so I'm doing this for actually because I've been asked to, and I also feel very strongly that after a lot of prayer, it's the direction the Lord is wanting me to go.
Tom Green County Court Bailiff Billy Bloom also is in the running for sheriff. All 3 could hear a decision this Monday at the county commissioners meeting at 9 a.m. In Brown County, Jerry Huerta, Fox News First.
Brownwood School Board trustees have taken the first step in bringing in a new superintendent. They've agreed to part ways with current superintendent Reese Blenko. Blenko will officially retire December 18th. At that time, he can look for a new position, and the district can find a new superintendent. The district's next board meeting is set for October 12th.
Howard Payne University's enrollment is on the rise. The school received this year's numbers and found there are 2.2% more students than last year.
Two-shot next. We're going into break. Stand by music.
Students at 3 HPU campuses. The school says the increase could be because of the amount of scholarships they've been giving out to Brown County students. Always good to see more students on campus. That means good things for just about everybody.
Cue music.
Later on Fox News First, we'll explore how some car recall notices never make it to the vehicle's owners.
60 million car recalls in 2014, around 75% of them went unfixed. Why such a disparity? That story's on the way.
Take break. Cue 'em.
We have a good few showers out there right now. Don't pay any attention to that. That right there is just clutter. But as we go to the west of Abilene, there's some shower activity. You can see it moving very slowly to the south. But kind of the heavier batches that we have right now is just to the south of Colorado City. And you see these batches kind of moving their way to the south, southeast. So places like Blackwell, Robert Lee, here in the next hour could be experiencing some sprinkle activity. And we have those mostly cloudy skies throughout the big country as well. And that's due to a disturbance that the core of it anyway is just to the northwest of the area near Lubbock. And that's keeping the milder temperatures around with the extra cloud cover. Also just some very slight precipitation as well. And in fact,
so I guess this doesn't really change the holiday schedule, so you can ask for a week off.
Some of the rain that you saw,
because whenever the new person starts, they can't take off.
Well, once again, I think the heavier batches are, but generally, the relative humidities are in the 30s right now, and this pretty much indicates how much moisture is in air relative to what the air can actually hold. So when you combine the dew point and the temperature to come up with
New Year's,
and this is what it comes out to be. So it's pretty dry
Talk to
out
Ashley
there.
because they have to like
are also in the mid to upper
do something
80s as well,
special
86 degrees in Abilene,
because you know at the end of the year it expires.
In Snyder and
if you
South
work
Lake
it out with
Carroll
them,
versus
they'll work
Abilene
with you.
High is the game of the week for this week, and yes, an isolated shower will be possible. It's pretty much tomorrow evening is pretty much going to replicate what this evening is, and about 83 degrees at kickoff by 7:30. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. Slight chances of precipitation will continue through the weekend. Temperatures in the upper 80s and near 90 degrees, and then we do get into the low 90s, drying out too as we head into next week.
So just a few degrees cooler, but it is fall after all. We're going to be cooling down eventually.
We'll take it.
It is fall. Actually, next Thursday, the last day of that 7 days, the first day of October.
Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? We'll be right back.
Kate at sick break.
You're watching KXVA Fox Abilene with Bob Rakeen, Molly Garrity, Chief Meteorologist Barrett Phillips, and Sports Director Manny Diaz. This is Fox News First at 6:30.
Welcome back. As car owners, we trust the companies to do the right thing.
Stand by
when there's
for
a problem, they should notify us. In fact, the government rules require they do that.
Tens of millions of recalls and more than 3/4 of them went unrepaired. Chances are your car's one of them. KXVA's Terry Gluka has more.
Each day you drive to and from work, it's a little like playing Russian roulette. Not just because of traffic.
You're more likely to wind up with an unfixed, recalled car here than practically any other state in the country.
One in every 5 cars on the road in Texas has an unfixed recall.
These are recalls that are safety-related problems. Fires, crashes, inadvertent airbag deployments, or exploding airbags. Things that cause real safety issues that put people's lives at risk.
You have an open recall.
Yeah.
Debbie Love just learned her 4-year-old Jeep is
I do
one of
feel
them.
special too.
A 2-year-old recall.
Because I only have like
involving her
92
seatbelt.
followers.
She doesn't remember.
I used to have one.
I would have thought maybe they would have made more than one attempt at getting a hold of owners. I bought it new, so from the dealership. So I would have expected a little bit more effort.
Now there's an app for that. The Carfax app tells you if your car has a recall. All you have to do is type in your license plate number and state.
So we're going to plug this one in.
Chris Basso with Carfax agreed to show us how it works. In just one parking lot, we found a handful of potentially unsafe cars.
So your hood latch. The hood latch can fail.
1 minute. Bring up the audio on 5.
Highway, it can come flying up on you. Your Mustang does have an unfixed recall. And it's actually for your driver's side airbag inflator.
Including David Hansen's used truck, which he bought 2 months ago.
Your 2005 Dodge Dakota came up as having an open recall that was issued 4 months ago. You're under the airbag recall.
Did you see her? She was like, what?
So it could go off at just any time without any warning.
Or it could potentially explode.
Here's why Hansen's truck is a good reminder for everyone.
There is no law that says a seller of any kind has to tell you about a recall or fix that recall on a used car before they sell it. So the onus is really on the people buying a car.
But
that's good. People should know this.
Life-saving information.
I will be downloading it as soon as you turn the camera.
And it's free.
Can't beat the price. That was Terry Gluka reporting. There's a difference between just losing a football game and getting hit.
Texas Tech knows a thing or two about that, don't they, Manny?
Oh, that they do. Last year they gave up 82 points to TCU. This year,
possibly think an upset. Give you the details to that. Plus, a little Southwest Conference rivalry renewed come tomorrow night. That and more coming up in sports.
Fade it, take a break. Film.
The idea of giving up 82 points is practically just as crazy as watching it happen. Trevon Boykin made a case for the Heisman in one game when he torched Texas Tech defense for 7 touchdowns and TCU's beatdown of the Red Raiders last season. Big part of bringing in a new Tech defensive coordinator, David Gibbs, was for games like this one on Saturday up in Lubbock. Last week it was Arkansas's ground attack. This week it's TCU's air-it-out offense that's number 2 in the Big 12 in total offense. Those 82 record-setting points will always be remembered, especially by Cliff and his Red Raiders.
They're going to see a whole other beast this week with what TCU does and the dynamic athletes they have. So it's really apples and oranges. Going through what they went through last year, there won't be any letdown. It was not fun. 18 of those guys started on that team, and they don't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
An upset of the number 3 team in the nation isn't entirely out of the question for the Red Raiders. The TCU defense will be without 5 of its starters on defense. Well, after holding their own against a solid South Grand Prairie squad with plenty of guys that are sure to be playing on Saturdays, it was pretty heartbreaking.
Sure to be keeping up with this time.
But as they showed us last week, the Cougars are good about forgetting about the past. This week, Mavis and the Cougars have stressed the importance of execution, and when they get the lead, keeping it. Tomorrow night, they'll take on a one-time Little Southwest Conference rival, Midland Lee, whose D-line could give them fits, but nothing the Cougs can't handle.
Coming from that loss last week, we definitely stepped up our game at practice this week, and I think we've really improved from that last game, from that tough loss. I mean, they're tough up front. I think they're going to be pretty good. Really just keep executing. Don't lay down when you get ahead. That's our main thing.
The Cougs defense will have to be wary of the lead run game as the Rebels put up 261 yards against South Lake Carroll a few weeks back. Over on the north side, the Abilene High Eagles have been stacking up rushing yards like they're going on clearance, racking in close to 1,000 yards.
Somebody for a full audio.
But the Warbirds have yet to face a team as strong as South Lake Carroll. But as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it, you know? So that's what we've been going with, 2 back sag, just the usual bird and all that usual stuff. Execution, honestly. I know the big boys up front, they're going to do their job. We call them the big nasties because, you know, they're going to sling them boys around up front, and they're going to give us the holes that we need, and then we go touchdowns.
Love that talk there. While South Lake blue chip running back Lil Jordan Humphrey is sure to give the black shirts attention, so will Dragons quarterback Mason Holmes, who tossed for 5 touchdowns against Midland Lee 2 weeks ago. Well, the saying big things come in small packages couldn't be more true for the Klein Bulldogs as their starting quarterback, Taylor Riley, stands at about 5'10", $150. Nothing crazy small, but no Goliath. So far this season, Riley's racked up 1,349 yards and 16 touchdowns. Yeah, he's doing something. According to Coach, it's his instincts that do the work.
His instincts, he just, you know, whenever things break down, he has great vision, and he can see down the field, and whether things aren't going right, he has a knack for making them right for us.
Really just find a hole and try not to get hit, because me being small, I guess, they always try to get me to not get hit and try to avoid contact or slide, so I guess just trying to avoid contact as best as I can.
The Dogs take their talents down to the Concho Valley to take on defending district champ Wall. The Hawks are currently 4-0. All right, it's the segment that puts the accent on the Friday West Texas scoreboard. The 1TX fan photos of the night. Use the hashtag when you post your photos. Or better yet, post them on our Facebook page, the West Texas scoreboard.
Stand by for break.
Last look at weather. Stick around for break.
Fade it. Take break.
Hey, don't complain about another birthday. This 105-year-old man from Japan is really going the distance. He accomplished the feat at the Kyoto Masters Athletics Autumn Competition the day after his birthday. He didn't start running until he was well into his 90s, that according to the folks at Guinness. Despite his accomplishments, he says his new record of 42.2 seconds for the 100-meter fell short of his personal best. He's also known as the Golden Bolt for his poses imitating Jamaican Olympian Usain.
Look at that.
Look at that.
He's
40
seconds. 105, yeah.
Wow.
Cue
What's the weather
music.
going to be like for this evening?
Well, for this evening, a few showers will be around, but most of us will stay dry, cloudier conditions as
10,
well. Tomorrow, temperatures in the upper 80s, and the upper 80s throughout the weekend as well.
6,
All right, that'll do it for us. We'll see you right back
4,
here at 9.
3, 2, 1. Stand by for break, kill the music, and take a break.